supremacists, white nationalists, and that it wasn't doing justice to what the president had done, but also to the piece below. If you read it, it was by Alexander Burns, who's a wonderful reporter, and he actually did speak to the context of all of this. And we do know that often an editor writes the headline and the journalist or the reporter writes the piece. So there was clearly a miscommunication between the two things. I'm not canceling my subscription, but I do understand people being frustrated by it.
By the way, quickly, Rick, before we go, it was changed to this headline, assailing hate but not guns. Its website also showed a similar headline, Trump condemns bigotry but doesn't call for major new gun laws.
I'm just wondering how often that happens. How often do they change headlines?
Well, certainly not an A1 story. That's why this was such a big deal. It was above the fold, front page. You're not talking about something that's buried deep in there. This is the major story of the day. It should be correctly titled.
And arguably they're supposed to be fact and not opinion. There's a part of the paper that's meant for opinion, and the front page is meant for fact. And the headlines, it's difficult to put a headline that's perfect on both sides. But in this situation, I think that it wasn't so offensive that it needed to be changed, and that change just lends itself to more distrust of the media.
He did call for unity, and he did condemn racism.
Like I said, it was in those 10 minutes, we saw a very different president than we have at all of these rallies, when he said...
So was the headline flawed?
I think the headline was flawed, especially because it didn't reflect the content of the piece. I think
Amos, final thoughts for you.
I think the headline reflected his speech yesterday. The headline just did not sit well with some of the 2020 Democratic presidential candidates.
All right, A-Team, thank you very much.
Thank you.
There's a lot there.
Well, U.S. officials are telling Fox News that North Korea has test-fired 2 more short-range ballistic missiles. Its 4th such launch in roughly 2 weeks. Greg Palcott is live in London with more on this. Greg?
Hi, Rick. Yeah, a few differences with these launches. These missiles took off from the west coast of the country of North Korea. They traveled across the Korean peninsula, ending up in the Sea of Japan. That makes the distance traveled about 280 miles, longer than some of the other missiles launched. There are also reports that these missiles and the others as well use solid fuel and are launched from mobile launchers, making them very hard to detect if defenses go after them from the south, from the United States. Also, it puts these missiles in range of just about all of South Korea's population centers as well as U.S. military bases. Now, Pyongyang clearly angered over the just started U.S.-South Korea joint military exercises. They are way scaled down from the ones that we've seen in the past couple of years, but North Korea is still angry today, saying, I'm quoting the state media, due to these drills, we are compelled to develop, to test, to deploy powerful means for defense. Still, Trump administration is continuing to take a low-key approach to these launches. Earlier today on Fox, National Security Advisor John Bolton said the president is watching, but doesn't feel that these shorter-range missiles violate any agreement he has with the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. We also heard from the Defense Secretary Mark Esper traveling in Asia. Here's a quick comment from him.
We're not going to overreact to these, but we monitor them, we watch them closely, and we're cognizant of what's happening.
Still, experts say they are watching and they are fully expecting North Korea to act up again. These U.S.-South Korea joint exercises, Rick, go on for the next 2 weeks or so. Back to you.
Greg Palcott in London. Greg, thanks very much.
As the nation mourns the victims in the mass shootings in El Paso and Dayton, what about the city of Chicago? 7 people were killed there over the weekend, dozens more injured in multiple shootings. We're going to have a live report on the situation there just ahead.
But up next, 2 fugitive teens accused of murdering 3 people continue to elude police. Where are they? And where is this investigation headed?
Even with this extraordinary effort, we have not had any confirmed sightings of the suspects since the burned vehicle was located.